Okay, this is being recorded now, so Justine, you're good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. This is the Battery Park City Committee of Community Board 1, and it is the February 2nd meeting. I welcome everybody to this meeting. My name is Justine Kucha. I'm the chair of the committee. Kathy Gupta is my co-chair. We've got our other committee members. I'm going to go in order as I see them on my screen, which is we've got Betty Kay, we've got Bob Schneck, Eric Flores, Jeff Galloway, Robin Forst, and I think we have nope, we don't yet. And we're still waiting for a few other people to come on, but we are good to go for now, and we're going to just move forward. All right, so the way this meeting runs, Robert's rules, we're going to have me presiding over the meeting, although we are going to have new business at the end of the meeting. So and at that time, I'm going to pass the meeting over to be run by Kathy. Due to potential conflict of interest. But right now we are going to go forward. Lucian, if you put up the agenda, we're going to go forward. And when we talk, we're going to have a presentation first from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey about the repair work at the World Trade Center River Water Pump Station underneath Kowalski Plaza. Folks will present, then we'll have questions. The board first, raise your hand, please. And then anybody in the attendee section, raise your hand and I will call on you, but the board goes first. Thank you so much. And I guess I want to welcome the folks from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Michael, do you want to introduce everybody?
Hi, thank you guys for having us, and Justine and Kathy and Lucian. We have Ted Giannini from World Trade Center Department and Tim Yan from World Trade Center Department. Kevin Finnegan is from the World Trade Center Construction. He'll be the project manager for the work. And we have Angelo Elmi from our environmental group. So we have some work at below Kowalski Plaza in the River Water Pump Station, some priority repair work. Tim, why don't you bring up the presentation, if you can share that?
Okay.
And then Tim's going to take you through the first slide, and then we'll hand it over to Kevin to get into more details on the project.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So this slide is just mostly just a background of...
Tim, we don't see the slide yet.
I don't see any slides yet. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I should have asked. Share screen. Okay, you guys see the presentation?
Not yet.
Okay, let me see.
I think you have it now.
Okay.
It's starting to load up.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. So we have our facility here. The facility itself is the river water pump station. It basically draws the river water into the pump station here. And then it brings the water all the way to our chiller plant in the World Trade Center campus. So this is for public cooling or chill water for the public facilities. So our main objective of this project is to do some priority repair work within the header room below grade, below the plaza. And this is just to maintain a state of good repair. The pump room was damaged and flooded from Hurricane Sandy. So there's a little bit of corrosion. There's some rusting of the stairs and things like that. So that's what we are going to be replacing. So the scope itself, we're going to be replacing steel walkways and the stairs heading into the header room. There's going to be some lead paint abatement and asbestos abatement as well. There's going to be some repair of the header pipe support insulation, and also waterproofing and water infiltration mitigation and repairing of the hatch doors.
Excuse me, is it possible to enlarge the picture? I don't know if it works in this format,
Yes,
but
I think this is the largest that it goes.
Okay.
Let me
I
see.
think you can, your sidebar, you have the ability to zoom in
yeah, there it
as
is.
well. Okay.
Perfect. That's helpful. So maybe go back for a second to the last slide just to show it bigger like that. Just for a
Okay.
second.
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
zoom in.
make the picture bigger if you could.
Yep. So right here is the Hudson River. Here is Battery Park City, the marina right here, and we
Right.
have the plaza right here, Koski Plaza, and the river water pump station, and the header room is actually below grade inside this inside underneath this plaza.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Mhm.
that's perfect. I think that's helpful. I think
Much better. Yep.
Okay. Tim, if you could zoom in, I'm going to start with a brief overview,
That's
and
good.
then we'll get into a little bit more detail. Okay, so the construction project is broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1 should only take about 2 weeks. It's just what's written there. It's mobilization, temp fencing, site preparation, a little bit of debris removal. So it's nothing complicated, nothing noisy. There will be a dumpster with some garbage bags and stuff like that. Typical construction. Phase 2 should take about 4 weeks, and that is the asbestos, which will go first, the asbestos abatement, and the lead paint abatement, both of which, as Tim indicated, are below grade downstairs in the actual pump station. Phase 3, which is the bulk of the project, could take between 24 32 weeks, as it says. And that's all the other work that Tim was talking about. It's the actual painting and some bolt removal and stair removal and some erection of some new stairs. Okay, so Tim, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll get into a little bit of detail on these now. Actually, wait a minute. Hold on. Zoom
Okay.
in on the diagrams on the side there, if you could, Tim. Zoom them in. Okay, so if you look at the 2 yellow construction area fences, the one that says existing area, currently there's a contractor, Brickens, who's doing work for Battery Park City Authority on the police memorial. That's their site proper. That's the current fence configuration that they're utilizing. And then the other one, in new staging areas, the additional area that we're going to be taking up, and that's where some of the equipment will be located. Of note, the area that Brickens currently is using, we will also be using that. Brickens has rearranged some of the area, and we're going to be putting some equipment into that area. And we'll get into that now. Tim, if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so for phase 1 and 2, the hours of operation are going to be as indicated there. We'll start at 8 and we're going to end at 6. Doesn't mean every day that we're going to be going right up to 6 o'clock. In fact, most days we probably won't, but we're going to be restricting any noise work between the hours of 9 and 5. And again, doesn't mean that they're going to be doing loud work right up until 5 p.m. A little bit about the noise work. Basically, Michael Lavery, not to, blow too much accolades to him, he had us work with the contractor to try and limit how much noise, because the way the contractor had originally designed to do this work would have been quite noisy. We were going to, the way they do the lead abatement is they sandblast the walls with a media that knocks all the paint off the walls, and then they would vacuum it up with this loud vacuum truck. Michael, I'm talking with Battery Park City Authority, realized that having a loud vacuum truck right next to Gateway wasn't going to work. So what the contractor has decided to do is forego the use of the vacuum truck. And this is why we're taking over part of Bricken's construction area, is we've moved any of the noisy equipment down below. So it's further away from Gateway, and it's so that the noise will be lessened because it's further away. There's also the barrier of the trees in between. So there shouldn't be any noise there. And like I said, they eliminated the one noisy piece of equipment, which would have been the vacuum truck. All right, so still next to the Gateway building proper is still going to be some equipment. There will be for lack of a better terminology, it's where the waste, there's an air bulkhead, if you can zoom up a little bit, Tim, I can't see how it's called on
the waste roll.
Yeah, the waste roll off. It's a big container that when they are bringing the waste upstairs will be placed into that. Essentially, the way the abatement operation goes, again, they follow all state and federal regulations. Basically, the asbestos has a lot of laws and rules. So down below there will be the decontamination chamber and everything like that, and it's just a small area anyway. But bottom line is there's going to be air monitoring. The contractor will have personal monitors on all their people that are going in and doing the abatement. And also I should note that these are not just people that they picked up at the union hall. I mean, they are all union, but these are, for the most part, employees that have been with the company. I think the least amount was 15 years. So these are all seasoned veteran employees that know what they're doing. So they all have personal monitors, and then the Port Authority will do independent air monitoring around the site to make sure that there's nothing that escapes. So again, they have the asbestos would be scraped off, put into containers, and then because it's below grade, there'll be a hoist that will lift these specifically designed waste bags and place them into the container. And then every other day that container will be removed. Similar for the lead abatement, they'll scoop up all the media and paint that's on the ground. They'll put them into the bags. The bags are all wiped down, cleaned, and everything like that. Then they're brought upstairs, and again they're placed into the bag and into the container, and they are also removed every 2 days. We had heard some discussion. If you zoom in a little bit on the southern, yes, that one, Tim. If you notice the round planters, we currently have the construction fence designed to go around all the planters. When I was out there today, somebody expressed concern about the pedestrian experience walking between the northern planter and where we were proposing to put the fence, and there was concern that it was going to be so narrow that it might feel restraining. So the two most northern round planters, we're going to put the fence on the southern side of that, so it won't feel as confining. It'll be a lot more open. We just put it around the planters to help protect them, as well as there's no usable space that we can utilize for the construction in that area. So we'll just open it up and people will have a better experience walking through there.
Thank you for that, Kevin. That's a good plus. Thank you.
The pedestrian access will be open at all times, so you'll be able to access the dog run, the playground, the Restikowski Plaza. There is going to be, however, some hoses connecting. They're like those flexible hoses that you expect to see, like about 10 inches in diameter. We'll build a little hose bridge that people will walk under because they have to go to the compressor and the dust collector that's down below by the police memorial. But they won't be in anybody's way, so they'll just be going right through there. Okay, Tim, if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so now phase 3, if you noticed, the first thing that's apparent on this slide is that we don't have the police memorial highlighted in yellow. As soon as we're done with the abatement work, which again, that's 2 weeks and then 4 weeks. So in 6 weeks time, we're done with the abatement. All that equipment that we had placed into Bricken's work zone is now gone. That'll be returned back to Bricken's and they'll continue work on the police memorial. We didn't change the size of the construction area on right above Kowski Plaza. However, as work progresses and we need less and less area, we're going to make every effort to, as soon as the space is no longer required, we're going to give it back. Right now, obviously, there's not that many people using Kowski Plaza as say in June. But again, if we get closer to March, I'm sure hopefully we'll have some nice warm days. So we're going to utilize as little space on Kowski Plaza as possible. All right, now getting into phase 3 work. The hours of operation are going to be the same. Again, most of this work, well, all the work except for the repair of the 2 hatches proper will be all below grade. And it's not really anticipated that there'll be any noisy work. The loudest you'll hear is the truck backing up to pick up the rollaway dumpster. Again, the hours are the same and the duration is 24 to 32 weeks long. Let's see. I think that's about, Michael, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's it. And the next slide has my contact as well as Kevin if there's any issues, and we can take questions. And we have Angelo too from our environmental group.
So
Okay.
that's great, you guys. This is Justine speaking, and I guess I have a question that I just thought of now, which was, so you're taking off the old lead paint, and you're taking off the asbestos, the tar asbestos, right? I think you said that, or is that, am I remembering that from our?
No, you are correct. It's in a tar form, so it's very easy to, much easier for the contractors to handle.
And so a little bit safer too. It's not going to be that.
It is. It is.
So that's a plus with the kind. But what are you replacing it with? So apparently, the asbestos is there to prevent, for fire, retard, to retard fire. What are you replacing the asbestos with?
It's just another gasketing material. There's a part of it was made out of neoprene, and I forget what the other part. Neoprene is just a specific type of rubber. I forget what the other part. It's not asbestos though. It's I think it was nylon based.
Okay, and what about the lead paint?
Oh, they're just going to use regular paint that's not based in lead.
And that's okay. That's just to grade or to whatever. That's all right.
Yes, we're just going to paint it so that the metal doesn't rust as quickly as it rusts now.
Perfect. I'm gonna let my committee ask questions if they have any, and I'm assuming that they do. Raise your hands, guys. I see Jeff Galloway has a question. So Jeff, unmute yourself.
Sure. Actually, it would be helpful to put the slide back up that shows the location during phase 2 or phases 1 and 2.
Okay. 1 and 2. Yep. This box.
Okay. In addition to being a member of this committee, I'm also on the executive board of the Gateway Tenants Association, and I live in Gateway as well. Excuse me, let me grab a glass of water here. I guess the residents' concern, as well as, well, let me back up a moment. In addition to people that live in Gateway and have windows that face over this site and potentially air intake issues into their apartment not too far from this site, there are a couple of businesses adjacent to the site that whose market is children. There's one of those Kumon learning centers, and there's a sort of a preschool play school there, whose entrances are roughly where it says vehicle access in the lower right-hand corner of the site. So they're very close to where the debris will be coming and going. And in addition to those entrances, there is a Gateway residence entrance almost immediately adjacent to the site, which is it's just a passageway, but it's a highly used passageway between the inner courtyard of Gateway and Kowski Plaza. And so people with their children going out to the play area, with their dogs going out to the dog run, or people just trying to take a shortcut out to the Esplanade, that's heavily used even in these winter months. So I guess my primary area of concern in terms of remediation work, in terms of the lead and the asbestos, would be in that area. And you mentioned air monitoring, and so I would want to make sure that air monitors are in fact placed in a manner that picks up realistically the exposure that people using those spots, particularly where the children are, are detected there. And in addition to air monitoring, I think some sort of surface sampling would be appropriate. I mean, lead in particular tends to coat surfaces. And so and I'm concerned particularly about the vehicle, access debris removal where there could be dust or just shaking or whatever. And so I would ask that there be periodic surface monitoring in those areas, as well as in wherever that piping bridge or hose bridge because if there is a leak in one of those hoses, that may very well, it's like right where pedestrians are going to be walking under. And, I understand that there's quite a bit of science involved in doing this remediation safely, and it's certainly been done a million times. And so I assume people will be doing best practices, but you're going to have concern from the parents of the children there, presumably concerned by the business owners who will want to make sure that their parents are feeling comfortable. So I think that kind of monitoring, both air and surface monitoring, is very important. I have a couple other points, but why don't I just pause there and hear your responses and reactions to those points.
And maybe we can have Angelo speak to some of these
Sure.
issues. Angelo, if you can
Yeah,
unmute
I heard
yourself and
that.
put
Actually,
yourself on there. Okay.
yes, Angelo Elmi. I'm a principal engineer with the Environmental Engineering Division at Port Authority. Thank you for that. We actually had considered that the community may want to put air monitors at certain sensitive receptors. So we did speak about that, and we're willing to do that. Put some air monitoring locations where you think there is sensitivity. The dust wipe samples, we don't usually take wipes unless there is visible debris, but I'm sure our group can work with you to talk about that.
Yeah, I think that would
Great,
be
like on the playground equipment, for example, like they've got swings and slides and then there's sand there, which is kind of horrifying. So you kind of want to know what's going on before it falls on
Yeah,
you.
I'll work with Angelo
Yeah,
on
I
that.
don't see why we couldn't do that. They're not expensive samples, and I think it could be done. And again, any sensitive receptors, we can work with you for the location.
thank you. I think that's important. Um, Another area that I have a question about, and I think residents at Gateway will have questions about, is that, fortunately, this is being done in the winter or early spring where most people's windows are likely to be closed. But there are air intake, air intakes for the ventilation system at Gateway. I believe they are mostly on the roofs of the building, and one building next to you is 35 floors up. So I suppose it's unlikely that any of the debris from where you are, especially if you're exercising care so that there really isn't much debris, would be exposed to that. But there's also a low-rise right adjacent to it where the roof is only 7 floors up. And so I have a question is, and then I don't know where the businesses intake air, where those schools may intake air closer to ground level. And so my question is, have you spoken with the Gateway management and the businesses there to make sure that care is taken to monitor or have some reasonable assurance that those air intakes would not be vulnerable to intaking anything that may come out of this remediation work?
Jeff, over the next couple of days, I can get in contact with those groups if they're not here or they haven't been contact. I was working with Lucian on some of that outreach as well. So we'll continue to do that before that abatement work starts.
Could I jump in for a moment?
Sure, Robin.
Company. I think Lucian is a good person, but Nick Spordone is probably an appropriate.
And I've been working closely with Nick,
But
Robin. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask a little bit about what safety precautions will be made prior to the exit of the vehicles from, the work area. Covered or watered down or wet down, or I don't know what the material is going to be like, but
So Angela, maybe you can kind of talk about the space below grade and how that is done with the negative pressure and the container.
Sure. So the two, I guess, the main issues with respect to hazardous materials would be the asbestos and lead abatement. So we would first remove the asbestos, which again is below grade in the pump room. It's a tar-like material on a wall in the pump room. So what they would do to remove it is first set up a containment of plywood and plasticize it. Inside the containment would be negative air, basically machines that put a negative pressure within the containment so that things aren't blown outward. They're blown into the machines where the air is filtered. So once you have that containment up, the men will start to remove that tar-like material, which has asbestos, and then put it into double bags and then brought up to the surface. And all the time while this is going on, there is air monitoring going on during, and then we have a final clearance of air monitoring after the asbestos is removed.
and the monitoring, will that be for the fine particles, the 2.5?
For the asbestos, it's strictly for asbestos.
Okay,
For the asbestos work.
and lead dust?
Okay, so once the asbestos is done, then we would go ahead and start the lead abatement, which would basically be done on the entire walls and ceilings and metal surfaces in the pump room. So it would be pretty much locked down and airtight, and a vacuum tubes, let's say, would bring it up to the dust collector up on the surface.
But we
In
talked
terms
about having air monitors, at key areas around the site. So
Correct.
I was just asking, what those air monitors would measure in terms of particulate matter.
Sure. So for the lead abatement, they would sample total suspended particulates for lead.
Of what size, though?
I'd have to double check. I know you said, you asked about PM 2.5.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we do PM 2.5 monitoring for this work.
Okay.
I'll have to double check on that.
Okay, that would be helpful, rather than particulate, 10, which is, the big stuff. So in terms
We
of
want small.
5 monitoring, I think would be safer, particularly for children. So
Mm-hmm.
if you
Let me check on the size of the particles, what we call the TSP for lead, total suspended particulates. Let me check on the sizes of those, but
thank you.
yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the 2.5 and 10 micron as well.
Thank you.
Have you been in touch with Gateway management yet? If not, I can give you some contact information right now.
Sure, Jeff, that would be great. If you want to get to Nick or Lucian, and then they could get it to me, or I could work with Lucian and just call them directly.
Okay, yeah.
And in terms of the Kumon, Jeff, I called and left a message, and then also emailed them. I found their email address but I said that if they didn't make it, I would still email them a link to the YouTube video, and I'll queue it up to this part so they can review it. And if they have questions later, we can make sure that those are passed on.
Okay, I've just put in the chat the contact information at Gateway to the property manager, who could, I'm sure will be interested in all of this, and certainly knows where the air intake areas are for Gateway.
Jeff, I'm going to send that right to Michael Avery.
Okay, good.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Lucian.
And Jeff, did you ask all your questions, or you?
I have one more question,
Yeah.
and that is in terms of the removal of the, I guess it's like a dumpster. Is that what the that vehicle, will it be? It's where the debris is. Is that a dumpster? What kind of
The
things?
debris waste roll thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 20-yard container.
Okay. I would just ask that we know, I mean, almost anybody who lives in probably Manhattan anywhere knows this. The commercial carters tend to come at god awful hours at like 4 a.m. and whatever. And for various, presumably regulatory reasons, they have beepers when they back up to pick up these dumpsters. And so I would ask that they be picked up not at 4 a.m. outside a residential building with the beepers blasting and the awful racket, and you know, at other more palatable times. I realize that there's a trade-off there because you want to minimize interactions with pedestrians and the children and whatever else that may be present there. But if you could avoid, you know, ungodly hours in the middle of the night, that would be appreciated by a lot of the residents, I think.
Not a problem, Jeff. Yes, I'm just going to address that. Again, the work is between 8 and 6, and the way we structured it with the contractor, their noisy works has to stop by 5, which is any of the abatement, and then they will load up the bags after that. So at that point in time, every other day at sometime between 5 or 6 or whenever they end the day, whether it's 3 o'clock or whatever, that's when the dumpster will be removed. So it'll be in the afternoon. It's never going to be 4 a.m. It'll always be later in the afternoon.
And
Okay,
Jeff, they'll have flaggers.
Yes, absolutely. I should have said it, but that's something we're just used to. They absolutely have to have flaggers, even if it wasn't a school there. It's a pedestrian way. They have to have flaggers. So yeah.
And then the question is so I know we talked about this before when you presented it to Kathy and I, but the waste roll, the debris, it's not, when they're taking the garbage out, so the garbage is in these big giant bags in giant garbage cans, basically underground. Then when they're going to come in to take that, dump it, there's no risk of dust coming out when they.
No, they have to clean them off before they can't just bring them up. Again, everything's done during, with and Angelo can probably speak better to it. There's a whole procedure they have to go. They can't just bring these bags up. It's.
And you'll be monitoring for air and
Absolutely.
Because the timing you're talking about is right after school, right? So you're going to have kids running by at the corner there. There's always a truck that sells ice cream. I mean, maybe it's not there now, but there's a food truck right around the corner. There's an ice cream truck. It's what is that? LPQ is around the corner. So that there's people sitting outside and eating and doing stuff, assuming it gets warmer. Although I guess this abatement stuff is going to happen now, so we'll be done before.
Yeah, so hopefully it happens in the colder weather.
In the cold weather. All right. Anybody else have any questions? I don't see anybody's hands raised in the chat in the attendee section, but anybody else have any questions? Please either unmute yourself or we can say thank you. You guys are good?
Just let me give it a second. We have a couple call-ins. So if you're on the phone, I believe *6 raises your hand. So let me just double check that, because I want to make sure that even our call-in people have the opportunity to ask to be recognized. *3, I'm sorry. *3 raises your hand. So if you wish to speak and you're on the phone, *3. And if not, I am not seeing any hands jumping up. So Justine, I think you're safe to go.
All right. Here we go, unmuted. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you, Jeff and Robin, for the really pointed comments and questions. And thank you guys for sharing your contact information. What I'd like to make sure we do, Lucian, is share with the community board, but also share with the Gateway Plaza Tenants Association. And then maybe have Gateway Plaza Tenants Association share the phone numbers of, is it Kevin, are you going to be on site the whole time? I forget, but it's the last slide shows us that and tells us who's there. So that
Yeah,
there's
my
someone to
contact
call.
and Kevin's contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's someone to call in real time if there's a problem. And I'm assuming the people who are going to be calling are going to be the Gateway folks.
Yeah, and
And Allied Universal, Nick. So just in case someone walking by or the school or whatever, you know, so they have that information.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pat's on the call. We're fully read in. So we'll do, Justine. Thank you.
No, thank you guys. This was wonderful. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's fingers crossed that there's no issues.
And Michael,
so
would
much.
you send me the final version of your presentation for our archives, and then also that'll allow me to just take the numbers right off and send it over to Gateway.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's good, Lucian, because when we report to the full board, I'll just like show a slide or something during the report
Yep.
because I think it helps to see it. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Have a lovely evening, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
you.
evening. Good night.
Port Authority.
Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm going to move on to the second item, and I'm going to clarify. So this is talking about public bathrooms or public bathroom access. And actually, we weren't asking to increase the public bathrooms. What this is all about, and let me give you some background, is that Mimi Flynn, who is a board member, Betty Kay, myself, and if I'm missing somebody, correct me, but have reached out and connected with Community Board 5 and folks with Community Board 5 to create a working group between the two community boards to try to talk about having access to public bathrooms around the city. So Betty Kay reached out to Nick and we had some lovely conversations, and I think I spoke with Ryan.
Yes, Ryan Torres.
Ryan Torres, there you go. Looking sure I've said her name correctly. But I spoke with Ryan. I believe Betty did as well. And just to get an idea of what the authority was doing. And I wanted to give you guys a heads up because I don't think we need to go into a long discussion about this at all right now because we don't. We're looking for bathrooms elsewhere, and we're looking to have the authority maybe lead the way in terms of providing information about how often the bathrooms are cleaned, how they staff it, what's going on with it. And I think that the outcome of my conversation with Ryan today and Nick was just to see perhaps having Ryan come and Nick come to a meeting with Community Board 5, and we can have kind of a more targeted conversation that way. I don't think we need to spend this community board's time talking about it unless anybody has any questions about it. And if anybody wants to join in on the conversation, please let me know. Let Betty know, whatever. All right, I don't see any raised hands. So that's easy and simple, Nick, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. We're happy to be thought of. Certainly, Betty, thank you so much for reaching out, and Justine as well. So happy to lend any expertise or insights or advice. And if it makes sense for us to come talk to the working group, we'll make the time to do it.
We'll work it out and see, because I think that would be helpful. Bob, you raised your hand about this issue?
I did raise my hand. I've actually been working on this with the community board for years, and I've suggested that this be worked on, but it seems very important to me that some of our major sites, namely the Fulton Center, namely our wonderful Oculus, and our Brookfield, all of those things should have 24-hour restrooms. And the fact that that Fulton Center had not had a restroom for years is horrifying. And that the dam, I shouldn't cuss, and that so many of the restrooms are shut when people need them. So I walk 8 miles a day and I use the insides of these buildings. How many times I'm so embarrassed to hear the professional security guard saying, you have to walk 2 miles that way, go under this, over that, and you have to find your way almost all the way back to the Rite Aid from the Oculus. That's ridiculous. And so at the very least, we have to insist that the obvious public bathrooms simply have to be open, and those things are prepaid for. The MTA hasn't paid for, Brookfield hasn't paid for, and the people running the Oculus haven't paid for, Westfield. So that's an insistence I want to make. It's simple, and I think that working with Nick, he has a little bit more leverage than I do, but I've mentioned this to these guys hundreds of times and my voice doesn't work very well. But I think Nick has a more stentorian and pervasive and persuading voice than me. So I'm a believer. So go get him, Nick.
There you go. Now, thank you. And Nick, you had said that
Thanks,
Brookfield
Bob.
was open 24/7. Is that true or no?
I believe, you know what,
I'm
hearing
not-
Bob
I'm not
say it so
sure it is, yeah.
eloquently, I don't want to speak out of turn. My
Yeah.
assumption was, but you know what happens when you assume.
Yeah,
Easy enough for me to confirm tomorrow. I
That would
know
be
that
great.
Brookfield overall is open. Like you can walk into the
Yes,
center, I
we'll walk through
believe.
it now. There's a
Um,
period of time where it was, certainly, and then
I'll confirm.
that
I'll see if
stopped.
they're back
I
fully
don't
from
know.
pandemic or not. But it would seem to me that if you're open and able to walk through, let's say, the Winter Garden in the middle of the night, why wouldn't you have the bathroom open? I don't know though. Let me find out for sure.
Thank you. That would be great to report back to us.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good on this issue unless anybody else wants to talk. And I don't see anybody talking. So the next issue is the Homeowners Coalition, I think. And Pat Smith would need to be unmuted or moved over or whatever you prefer. But I think, Lucian, you need to put up the agenda just to make sure that I'm not dreaming this. Yep, Homeowners Coalition update. Pat Smith, the president of the board of the Battery Park City Homeowners Coalition, just to give us a quick update because we've had some meetings and I just will let Pat speak for himself. Go
Well,
ahead.
Justine, thank you. Thank you, members of the board. Basically, the Homeowners Coalition has been trying to negotiate with the Battery Park City Authority a global agreement that resolves the ground rents for all 18 condo buildings forever. We made a proposal to the authority the end of October. The authority has not sent back a counter proposal yet. One of the problems we have here is, as you may be aware, President Biden has nominated Authority Chairman George Souness to be the U.S. ambassador to Greece. As of yesterday, when I checked, he had not yet been confirmed. And he has not resigned as chairman of the authority, but he has not served as chairman for about 4 months now. Vice Chair Martha Gallo is presiding at the monthly authority meetings, and everyone, I think, is waiting for the governor to name a new chairman. And I believe there's 3 other vacancies on this 7-member board. Not vacancies, but board members who are sitting past their expiration date. So the governor has to make some nominations for the Battery Park City Authority Board. And kind of like any organization with that much of a vacuum at the top, and we don't expect they're going to move very quickly or decisively. They need direction from the governor. So to that end, through our lobbying firm, we have been pressuring the governor. The Battery Park City Authority comes under the aegis of the Director of State Operations, Catherine Garcia, familiar to all of you as the former Sanitation Commissioner and the former candidate for mayor. So Catherine Garcia reports to Governor Hochul. Catherine Garcia oversees the Battery Park City Authority. We are in contact with her. We have exchanged data with her. And then we've also worked very closely now with our state senator, Brian Kavanaugh, to encourage the senator to do 2 things. Let me step back. Monday night, Senator Kavanaugh addressed a meeting of the Homeowners Coalition, and we opened that meeting to any unit owner, whether they were on the coalition or not. And there was 100 people on the call. In fact, the Zoom capacity was 100, so we crashed the Zoom capacity. I don't know who else couldn't get in. And if you're one of those who couldn't get in, I apologize. And he spent an hour with us. Two specific things. He very definitely promised to introduce and to press legislation to extend the Battery Park City Authority and the Battery Park City and all of our leases past the 2069 expiration date. He also promised to very aggressively lobby Governor Hochul and Catherine Garcia to make sympathetic appointments to the Battery Park City Authority and to direct those appointees to resolve this issue in a timely fashion. Two members of our Homeowners Coalition, myself and Miriam Peranti, both of whom served on a negotiating committee when we negotiated the 2011 deal. Marion and I had the opportunity to meet with Martha Gallo and with BJ Costello for a conversation. It was not a negotiating session.
BJ Jones.
BJ Jones, I'm sorry. Excuse me, BJ Jones. The emphasis was this was not a negotiation. Again, going back to the point I made before where they really can't negotiate till they get some leadership. But it was a frank discussion. There were 2 points that came up which were troubling. There was the claim that 50% of our 3,860 units in the coalition, that 50% are investor owned. And then there was the claim that sales in Battery Park City have been quite good over the last 3 years. So as the coalition leadership, we went back and we contacted presidents or managing agents for the 18 buildings, determined how many of their units were owner occupied and how many were investor owned. And we were able to determine that 72% of those units are owner occupied, 27% are investor owned. And that number might be high because frequently owners list their ownership as an LLC for purposes of confidentiality or for tax purposes. So it gets listed then as being investor owned when in fact it's owner occupied. So it's 27, and that could be a high number. So we had to disabuse the authority of that fact. We presented them with the documents. We also, with the help of several of your neighbors, were able to reach out to Street Easy, Urban Digs, and Property Sharks, 3 entities that keep data on real estate sales. And we're able to show definitively that sales of condos in Battery Park City are down at 2021 as opposed to 2019, the pre-pandemic year. They are down, and that while other neighborhoods, especially Tribeca and the financial district, sale prices are up. So we get, again, disabused the authority of that notion. So this is part of what we're up against, this uphill climb that Battery Park City residents are just wealthy whiners who don't want to pay their fair share. Again, our position consistently has been, we pay our pilot like all other New York City property owners. We pay a property tax through a pilot. We pay ground rents and facilities fee that other people don't pay. Those ground rents and facilities fees help maintain this most beautiful public space. And everyone is allowed to use that public space, even if there's not enough bathrooms. But that This is our gift to the people of New York. This is the argument we made in 2011 that was successful, and we maintain this because it's the truth. It is no tax dollars going into maintaining the promenades and the parks. It is our money paid through our ground rent and through our facilities fees. And in the next bond issue, the Battery Park City Authority is going to use several $100 million for flood protection. Obviously, we need that. It's going to protect our homes. But that flood protection will also then protect Tribeca and the financial district. And through our ground rents, we are going to pay the debt service on those bond issues. So we go to the authority and say, yes, we pay a lot more. Yes, we're willing to see gradual increases, but not precipitous increases. And yes, you will have enough money to pay for the parks, to pay for the flood protection, things that benefit us and the rest of New York City. And yes, you will have some extra money, $45 to $50 million, to give to the New York City for affordable housing. We're willing to do that, but the current ground leases would exact hundreds of millions of dollars over and above that, and that would basically financially destroy the homeowners and ultimately destroy Battery Park City. Because if we can't pay the ground rent, they can't pay the debt service on the bonds. So we have emphasized to them, they must get this issue resolved before they go to market with the next bond issue. That's where we are today. I'm optimistic we can get this resolved in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat. Really appreciate the summary. I have no questions. I don't know if anybody else does. Bob, is your hand raised new or is that old? I see Marianne Braverman has a question from the chat, from the attendee section. So if Bob, you don't have anything to say right this second, let's call on Marianne.
I'm getting ready.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry.
I can hardly wait.
Go ahead, Bob. Bob first, then Marianne.
I'm going to go on the last issue, the new business issue.
Oh, okay. We're not talking about that yet. That just wait.
I know.
Okay, so your hand is down. Okay. Marianne, please, on the Homeowners Coalition at this point. Solution, unmute Marianne, please.
Thank you so much. And it's simply Braverman.
Braverman.
No
Okay.
bra. In that Homeowners Coalition meeting, and I think this is really a question to you, Justine, I thought I heard it said by you or somebody that the pilot is not strictly New York City real estate tax, that some of that money goes to the state.
No.
Did I misunderstand?
Yeah, no, that's not accurate. The pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. That
Right.
funds is exactly what is collected as taxes like they do across the other side of the West Side Highway.
And
everybody pays
one
that.
of those dollars goes to the city.
No, every one of those dollars gets put into a pie or I mean,
Right.
into a big pot and gets mixed up as Nick and BJ would tell me, and gets mixed in with the ground rent and the civic fees, and then it gets paid out in different ways. So first, the Battery Park City Authority pays its bills, right? And in the 2020 numbers, they paid, I believe, $33 million to keep their lights on, salaries, insurance, to keep the lights on.
Could I just clarify my question?
Yeah.
If, let's say the pilot is $1 million, does New York City get handed that $1 million? Or if
No,
there
because
are
they have to pay-
expenses,
the Battery Park City Authority has to pay their bills first and then
Okay.
pay the bond debt first.
Justine, do you want me to try to take a shot?
Yeah, try it and see if that answers it, because
You're doing great, and we should hire you, and you should take my role because you're doing really good at it. And I have tried to kind of divine different ways to make it as simple as I can, but I was just going through this recently. So let me see if this works or makes it simple. I'm just going to use round numbers and not exact numbers, just round numbers for the sake of explanation. Let's just say, hypothetically, Battery Park City Authority makes $100 in revenue for the year. Okay? It's not $100, but for the purposes of explanation. Our revenue comes from two primary streams, pilot which is paid by all buildings. Owners, condo owners pay it as part of their common charges. Renters would pay it as part of what's built into their monthly rent. And ground rent. Those are the two main primary streams that come together that fund the Battery Park City Authority. So let's just say in our hypothetical example, our revenue for year X is $100. Proportionally, the money that we get from pilot far outstrips what we get from ground rent. So of that $100, roughly $80 of that 100 comes from pilot, and about $20 of the 100 comes from ground rent. Okay, we take that $100, again, placeholder hypothetical number, and then the first thing we do each year is we pay our debt service for the capital projects that we use to maintain Battery Park City, resiliency projects, etc. We pay the debt service and we pay our operating budget, our programming, all the work we do in the parks, the maintenance, etc. So in our example, carrying through that strictly hypothetical number, we had $100 of revenue, 80 from pilot, 20 from ground rent. It all comes to us into one bucket now. That's the Battery Park City Authority's revenue. We pay the debt service, we pay the operating cost. Let's just say hypothetically that comes to $40. Okay, it doesn't, but again, round numbers, $40. What's left? Who's good at math? 100 minus 40, $60 is left. That's excess revenue, meaning we've spent what we need to spend to maintain the neighborhood and pay our debt service. Of that $60 that's left, that all has to go through to the city. And the way it goes through to the city pursuant to the settlement agreement is in roughly the same proportions as it came in. So it came in from pilot and ground rent, 80 and 20. It goes out, pilot and ground rent, 80 and 20. So of the $60 that's left, what's 80% of 60? 40. $40 would go to pilot, and that fund, that's the general fund, that funds cops, firefighters, teachers, sanitation, etc. And what's left? 20. That $20 goes to the joint purpose fund. The joint purpose fund is used to fund affordable housing throughout the city. I hope that helps.
Yes,
Yeah.
now,
So it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but it's also far from the simplest.
Yeah. So
but
it's not an
again,
easy answer to answer your
Justine,
question.
it-
Go ahead,
you
Pat.
should remember too,
I hope that
that
helps.
in a bond issue back in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
Battery Park City Authority borrowed money through a bond issue, and over and above what the authority needed, they borrowed extra money just
Yes.
to give to the city and just
Yeah.
to give to the state.
Mhm.
So we became the piggy bank to help the city and the state. Now we have, insisted to the authority that this next bond issue go to sustainability, i.e. flood protection, and it has not become the piggy bank for any other projects. We've been told by the authority it will not be. So again, yes, what Nick said is accurate. It is complicated, but again, for the purposes of negotiation, we are willing to give the authority, through our ground rents and facilities fee, enough money to pay their operating cost, enough money to pay their debt service, enough money to pay pilot to the city, and enough money to have this extra little pot that goes, well, it was $45 million this year,
Yeah.
to go for affordable housing. We're
Correct.
willing to do that. But the ground rents, again, have built in hundreds of millions of dollars of extra money over and above that. And we say that needs to be fixed.
Right. That's future money that we're talking about.
So this is what the point of this negotiation is.
If I could just get another little clarification on the joint purpose fund, is
Yeah.
that the one that goes to the state and the city?
No, the joint purpose.
The state doesn't
yes
get
and
it.
no. The
Well-
joint purpose fund is the $45 million that Pat's talking about, or the $20 that Nick was talking about.
Right, and it goes to who?
Sorry. It
It
depends.
goes to the city.
It goes to the city.
Yeah.
There is the purpose fund is defined by contract between the city, the comptroller, and the BPCA, the governor. It's defined and decided how it's going to split. In years past, oh God, I got to find my slides. But in years past, it was going to a city fund, a state fund. Let's see here. This was the old joint purpose fund.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and it could go to the state as well as the city, in other words,
They
depending.
agreed to. They
And
agreed to
again,
that.
going
Yeah.
forward, we say there will be no more money to the state. Although right now, the state takes out $9 million every year,
Yes.
claiming that this is like a service fee for the great work they're doing, helping New York City and helping. And again, we're hoping that
Justine, you love that slide.
I do.
Good slide.
we're
Sorry,
hoping that a governor other than Andrew Cuomo will be a little more kind and gentle, and we can get away from, again, we being the piggy bank for whatever a New York State official decides to do.
Right, that makes sense. And so, Marianne, I'm happy to sit down with you and go through.
No, I don't need more explanation. I'm trying to clarify that the city gets money, that they may or may not use it for affordable housing. We know it's been used to plug budget gaps in past years. And then the state is also taking some money. And, you know, it's not all affordable housing.
No, it's not. But, I mean,
Right.
there are 4 buckets. The buckets are as described here. That was what 2010 agreed to. And what it goes to each year, that's not up to the authority even. That's just how the money, it's given over. And then the city and state do with it as they will.
You're going to have a great time, those of you who do this, educating Catherine Garcia.
Yeah.
So I wish you well.
She understands it.
No, I think
it's
Catherine
tough.
Garcia is already well educated. I have a
Great.
good degree of confidence that I've had dealings with Catherine Garcia in the past. I had the good fortune to have some tangential relationships with her, and I'm very impressed with her. She's a very, very smart person.
Good.
And I think we'll be fine.
Perfect.
Okay, bye-bye from me.
And I see no other questions. So let's do this now. I mean, so what I'd like to do is, Lucian, if you don't mind pulling up the agenda, I think I'll let Pat go, Pat Murphy go first with the security update, and it's been there first, and then Nick. So Pat, you're usually pretty quick, but I'll give you 5 minutes or so, give or take. Nick, 10 minutes or so, and we get this done because we've got new business to talk about.
I love it.
Okay, so new business is going to be complicated. People stay on for the new business, please. But go ahead, Patrick, you're first. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. Okay, for January, taking a look at the report, graffiti this year, we came up with 4 cases, 4 reports of graffiti. 3 of those reports were dealing with one location. Homeless, this time we have 17 reports dealing with homeless, and all the reports are dealing with the homeless person that's up in Rockefeller Park. Okay.
With one person, Pat?
Yeah. We keep visiting her. She does leave the park at 1 o'clock. She leaves the stuff behind, and then daytime she comes back. I have with her was speaking to the NCOs concerning the situation. Michael, I'm going to destroy his name, unfortunately, Rockwalski, who has Sector Charlie, and he met with her. And, you know, we spoke after he met with her, and he's going to try and follow up with homeless services on his end to see if anything else can be done. Okay, the next was lost and founds. We had 0 reports on that this time. Park rules, we only had 2 reports in January. For vendor, obviously 0 reports. And with dogs, we only had 5 reports, and it was really one day at the beginning of the month, and that was concerning some people were in Rockefeller Park with their dogs on the grass when the snow was down, the very first snowfall. And that was it. We didn't have any issues with this snowfall, thankfully, with people with dogs, so the word is out there.
So Nick, I'm sorry, Patrick, I got to tell you, I just haven't had the energy to call. People are walking their dogs every day on the AstroTurf at West Thames Park. With the snow, they are bringing their dogs into the basketball court. and letting the dogs run free. I can't tell that they're peeing or whatever, but I don't know, and I don't know if they're picking after them, picking up after them. I can see this from my window, but every single day, same dogs every single day, and I just got tired of calling, which is not nice. But I'm telling you now, maybe you can have your folk, the allied folks, just kind of take a wander. And
Definitely, I'll definitely follow up with that. As you know, I don't have anybody
I know
specifically assigned to that.
it's cold. I don't
that
want them
is-
assigned. They don't need to be
Right.
outside, and I should call them, but sometimes I'm just.
But I can tell you, if the dog, you say the dogs are there, they must be picking up because the kids are there. The kids were there today.
Mhm.
They come in and they use our bathroom, the kids and that stuff. So the only complaint we got from the kids was, "Hey, listen, do you have any shovels? Because we want
Yeah.
to make
Somebody
it a
came and
little
shoveled
wider."
the basketball court and then played basketball today, which was great.
Correct.
I saw
Right.
that. That I saw. But there was
So-
dogs, which is so funny. He didn't come in to tell you that there were dogs in the court that he chased off. I mean, chased off. He went on the court, they left. But right
Right.
before he came, there were dogs on the court, on the basketball court.
Right. All he was concerned about was getting the shovel.
So he played. Anyhow, sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that sums up everything so far. Obviously because of the weather and that stuff, which is
Yeah.
the cold weather is always on security side as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Keeping people inside, but all in all, quiet month, thankfully.
Sounds good. Anybody have questions or anything? And you can all yell at me for not call. I see Kathy Gupta. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, Patrick, hi. Last month I mentioned looking out my window and seeing a bicycle delivery person on a motorized bike going up the Esplanade. Sure enough, happened again the other night. Just happened to look out the window and there they were. And there was another one on South End Avenue, which sort of narrowly missed me and a friend walking on the sidewalk. I know that's not your territory, but has anything been done about that?
The only thing that we can do, I mean, they're a bicycle. I know they're motorized, battery operated and that stuff, but bikes are allowed on the Esplanade. When we see them, we discourage them from using it, but that's about as far as we can go. The police cannot even any longer write them a ticket for using it because they're now legal. They made it legal during the last administration. Before that, I was able to have the police there and give them tickets, and they actually would take the bikes. But now you can't do that because they made it legal.
Oops, sorry.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? And Kathy, you done?
Yeah, I not somehow got knocked off the screen. Can you hear me?
We could see you and hear you, so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. I'm
Yep.
done. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, nobody else. Barbara Ireland has her hand raised. Could you unmute Barbara? Hey, Barbara. So this is to Patrick, right? Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, Patrick, could you address the car that was on the Esplanade?
Yeah. We did talk about it, I think, last week, last month, but go ahead. Please talk about that.
Okay.
And any changes with the barriers to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, basically, another vehicle got on the Esplanade. The
Second
safety
vehicle?
ambassadors, the safety ambassadors were able to stop it. The supervisor, we had a SPO, a peace officer working, and he was able to photograph the plate. He stopped the driver, took the driver out of the vehicle, made him produce his driver's license. We photographed the driver's license, called 911, had the police respond over. He was escorted off the property, and the police department was contacted by the authority the next day with all the information. So everybody knows what's going on, and the authority then got another bollard and it was put up by the Murray Street entrance because that's where he came in from. So we were able to identify the person that did this. He wasn't drunk or anything. He was from out of state.
This was the second car that was on the Esplanade, because I know there was one by
Correct.
the ferry terminal. This was, and when did this happen, Barbara or anybody?
This happened on the 19th.
Of January.
Correct.
And the first one was earlier than that, because I saw it on Nextdoor where people were asking me. I just don't remember. But Nick, I know we talked about that.
That was in December, that one.
Yeah.
I think it was the week between Christmas. I think it was like the 27th or
Right.
so.
So
Right.
the first one was who knew? Now we know. Did it come in the same way, the car?
We believe it came in the same way. Obviously, being that we had this driver and that stuff, we were able to question him and find out which slip he came in. So there's now 3 barriers set up there.
Okay, so now nobody can come in, or we
Yeah.
really
Well, there was yeah. So Justine, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah, there was a block. The barriers that we have down by like PRA Plaza, they're kind of trapezoidal, big ton weight. I'm not using the right word. Very heavy blocks. Was placed there after the December date, right in the middle. So like, okay,
Yeah.
there's a big block there, and he managed to kind of drive up and around it. So now 2 more have been added. When you go up
Okay.
in that area, there's like it's.
Wow.
We
And-
were not able to tell for sure. It looks like it may have been the same vehicle, maybe after a joyride, but we've gotten to the police department for their advice.
Nick, that's disturbing if it was the same vehicle, and it was disturbing that they went. I mean, that is kind of freaky to me.
It's the same guy.
Looks like it.
I don't know. I don't know for sure if it
Justin,
was.
We don't know, but it's disturbing.
But it looks like it looks similar.
Because the first time, if it was open and someone who was lost, or that's what I understood, but someone looks like this guy looked like he was making a really concerted effort to get there. That is of concern. So thank you, first of all, for Patrick, for having your folks get out there and stop it, and nobody got hurt. But that's giving me like.
Oh, Justine, just to keep in mind, we deal, especially in security, especially with my background, I deal with, it's a known, okay? And the thing is, yeah, it looks like the same vehicle, but like that.
Doesn't mean it is.
We don't have, right, it doesn't mean it was, or it is. That we didn't have the plate from the other vehicle or the driver information or anything like that. This time we have all of that. And the incident beforehand, we were dealing with a female who was intoxicated, and she was arrested.
Oh.
Okay, on the time before that. So,
but you don't have the information about what kind of car it was that she was arrested in?
oh yeah, she was arrested in an SUV. So, I mean, we had called the police department on that stuff too. All of this stuff happens, on the night shift. So, this happens, that one probably happened around 1 o'clock in the morning. And they was arrested up around behind Stuyvesant High School. They couldn't get out. So.
That's not funny. It's Matthew in the background laughing. No. All right. Thank you. I think, Nick, I might want to talk about this some more, but not right now. Okay. Anybody have questions or issues? Barbara, thank you for bringing that up. That I was not aware of the second incident. Thank you. Anybody else? I see no hands. All right. So Nick, go to your report, please. And then we go to new business.
Okay, hold on. Okay, sorry. I thought I was muted, but I'm not muted. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So yeah, let me run through this quickly. And thank you as always. So we had not the first snowfall of the season, but a fairly substantial snowfall over the weekend, as we know. There's some folks on West Thames Lawn playing. I don't see any dogs there, Justine, but I will take your word for it. And we actually have signs there again posted reminding folks about no dogs on lawns. We'll continue to monitor that. One of these days, scrolling down, we will no longer have to lead each of these reports with COVID-19, but that day's not yet. So I just put in the latest information there about eligibility, booster shots, and testing. So if you go down then, Lucian, to the middle of page 2, I've updated this from last month. Testing sites in the immediate vicinity of Battery Park City. There's 4 sites there that run through varying dates, but through the 4th and the 6th in the immediate vicinity of BPC if you're interested in getting rapid tests. There's a link there at the bottom. Governor Hochul is hosting an expert consortium to address long COVID. That's tomorrow, but you can click on the link and that will get you information about that event and how to log on to it. Thank you, Lucian. Okay, top of page 3, open community meeting. I spoke with Justine a little bit and Pat some as well, but we have over the course of, well, the last number of many months, done any number of public meetings on various of the things Battery Park City is working on: resiliency, sustainability, Ready BPC. We're regularly at this meeting as well, or every month at this meeting, and then oftentimes at the EPC committee for Community Board 1, Transportation Committee, etc. But what we hadn't done in a little while has been kind of an open, what we call open community meetings, like town hall style sessions. We're unfortunately still not yet entirely able to get together in person, so we're going to do it virtually, but that's February 16th, 6 p.m. The link is there, and you can also click on the QR code and be brought right to the registration. So free to register, free to attend. You can click in at any time, and we'll be going through some of the latest happenings in Battery Park City. One of the things I would mention, just to, Pat had mentioned some things before, I just wanted to maybe kind of not necessarily reply, but just maybe kind of clarify. So he had brought up the number about the 50% owner occupied of units. I know that he said he had done some research on their own. The numbers we got, I wouldn't say we were disabused by Pat. The numbers we got are from the U.S. Census. So the U.S. Census is a reputable source, and those were the numbers are from.
Nick, would you do me a favor and send me the link to the census? Because I have.
I will. It's
census
from the
data
American
that
Community
supports it.
Survey. Let me see. Let me
Yeah.
get the link for you, and I can
Thank
send
you.
it
Yeah,
for
offline.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would say is agreed. So BJ and Martha had met. I wouldn't categorize the board as not being kind of engaged or involved, given Chairman Sunis's nomination and pending potential appointment as the ambassador to Greece. To the contrary, our board is very engaged on the issue, and it's not accurate to say the board isn't engaged or interested or able to make decisions while George Sunis is under consideration to be ambassador. And then the last thing I would say is certainly we have heard and would agree that there are a range of incomes of people who live in Battery Park City. We've heard that, but we also know that as well. That's why we certainly agree that the fair market value resets, which we've done, frankly, and Jeff Galloway is going to shake his head, we've done this to death in this committee. But that's why we agree that the 6% of fair market value ground rent resets are untenable. It's exactly why we want to fix it. And we are obviously cognizant of the fact that there are a range of incomes in Battery Park City. Justine Kuchia lives in Battery Park City. And while I don't know her personal finances, she's not a multi-billionaire. There are also incredibly, right, well, don't we all? There's also some incredibly rich people who live in Battery Park City, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Beyonce. And it's not obviously accurate to say, well, everyone who lives in Battery Park City is as rich as that. But it's also not accurate to say that no one who lives in Battery Park City is buying multi-million-dollar apartments, because they are. So all that to say is my long way of saying that one of the things I think we broached with Pat, and we'll be doing some more thinking and exploring around, is perhaps there is a way to being cognizant of the fact that certainly not everyone is incredibly wealthy in Battery Park City. If there was a way perhaps to means test, or to have a way to make sure that we are having public dollars directed to people who need it, and not the people that, the 1% who don't, I think that would be something that we'd be willing to explore. as the conversations proceed. Which is interesting, which is, I think, a smart way of doing it, right? We don't want to paint, there's no interest in painting everyone with a brush to say you're wealthy simply because you live in Battery Park City. That doesn't mean there aren't incredibly wealthy people who live in Battery Park City, and they should not be getting public subsidies when they don't need it. So
Nick, yeah, Pat is not able to respond to you. I don't know if he's still on, but he's muted, so he can't answer you. So
but nonetheless, I mean, we'll
offline.
talk about this and more on the 16th.
Talk about it offline. Yes, thank you.
And but I mean, that's certainly something we're cognizant of and want to make sure the public dollars are going to folks who need the help.
Like I said before, and we've said before, you can't harm the people at the lower end of the spectrum for the 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is % at the higher end of the spectrum. Deals are made all the time for the large rental buildings that are not being given to the smaller owner investor landlords, and reasoning being is because the larger landlords are more important. I don't know, more important, more bigger. I don't know what the deal is. More influential. Maybe they help more people. I don't, in terms of the affordable housing component of stuff. So I think it's what you're saying makes sense in one way, but it is half the story, or more or less than half. And it's again, we can fight all day. That's not the conversation we want to have right now.
Certainly something we want to.
We have to talk about.
Right. We want to explore ways to make sure that this is. I would agree with Pat. Hopefully, this can be brought to conclusion this year, because we are certainly interested in making sure that these ground rent resets are not unduly impacting folks, and we recognize, obviously, as they exist now, they are untenable.
And I can
which
say
we said from the jump.
I appreciate as a member of the negotiating committee, I appreciate that there's something coming to the table as a possible proposal. Present it. Let's talk about it. We need to bring it to our people, to the 18 condos, and they need to understand it, digest it, and so nothing's a no from our side. Our present. But let's move on to the rest of your report.
Good. Yes. So let me run through this. So we have events coming up. Obviously, our Winter 2022 calendar is there. The annual art exhibition, which features, as you may know, art created at our art programs over the course of the year. We had the exhibition opening on Sunday, which was great. There is now a virtual version of that. That's solution in the middle of page 4. On our YouTube channel, there is a virtual art tour. So if you want to see the art featured in that show, you can do that from the comfort of your own home. You can also see the art in person on view Mondays and Tuesdays through March 29th at 6 River Terrace. We have a virtual film series, 70s Cinema, Thursday the 3rd at 7. You can click on to register. The movie is Harry and Tonto, which I've never seen, but the more that I read about it, the more I feel like I want to. It seems like a really good flick. Top of page 5 is the Battery Park City Valentine blood drive. Just want to take a moment here and thank everyone who participated in the January emergency blood drive. We talked about it last month. It resulted in 63 life-saving blood donations in just one afternoon. So thank you, Battery Park City, for being so generous and providing these gifts of life in what really is a blood emergency in New York City. See the hands clapping. Thank you. It really is. It's remarkable. And we have another one coming up on Thursday, February 10th. Winter Wonderland Silent Disco was rescheduled from January 21st because it was bitterly cold. It's now this Friday, the 4th. Speaking of affordability, we had announced in the middle of January that Tribeca Point, which is a 41-story rental building in Battery Park City, has now agreed with the authority to preserve the 70 affordable units. Affordable being defined as 40 to 50% of AMI, which is area median income. Those apartments were set to expire in 2029 due to the efforts and agreement that's now pushed out for another 40 years. So in total, the 70 affordable units that exist in that building will exist for another 50 years, which is really quite something to be proud of. Ballfield's Winter Hours, we just had that there. The February link is there. There's a montage there at the middle of page 6 thanking our fantastic parks operations team for their diligent work on Saturday and Sunday in clearing the snow. You'll see some pictures there. That was Saturday and Sunday to keep the place, the public spots open. In the right-hand corner of that bottom picture, by the way, with the vehicle, you'll see some of those cement blocks. That looks like that's down by IS 276 that we were talking about earlier. A couple of links there at the bottom. This is in terms of since it is an incredibly generous community, certainly we talked about with blood donations as well, but honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it is Black History Month as well. The state is running a series of drives. There's a statewide food drive and a statewide book drive. Links to those programs are in the report, and the dates through which they are running can also be seen there. Top of page 7, we have done this recently in the past months, these parks happenings. I'm not going to go through everything, but just a couple of things that we are doing throughout the parks for the month of February. One thing I would note at bottom there, the picture on the right, we in the last week of January applied the first fully cured and tested dog waste compost to the Route 9A median, which we maintain. And you'll see there that is part of the composting program we launched way back on Earth Day of 2019, is now ready for use, and is just an incredible achievement for us in terms of sustainability and turning what is not a significant amount of pet waste each day back to nature to beautify the public spaces. Top of page 8, I'll go through this quickly. Resiliency updates. We made an update to the LMCR with the LMCR group at the EPC committee meeting, the quarterly update, and we will likely be going back to the Environmental Protection Committee, Justine, I think sometime maybe March or so, as we gear up and lead into the start of construction in Wagner Park this summer. But the links are there, and the ball fields, as promised last month. The construction on the resiliency protection, the flood barrier, is complete. The surrounding sidewalks, which last month had opened on Murray and Warren, but was still up on West Street, the sidewalk fencing is down now on West Street. So that's all opened up. The last part of the work to be done will be the planting of the trees in March and some understory plants. And there's a final section of pavement on the sidewalk that needs to be replaced. So the fencing on West Street will be back, but for now it's opened again. And then the final punch list items that have to be completed will be done early spring. Okay. You can scroll down, Lucian. Thank you. Ready BPC, we did. Most of this is not retreat, but stuff we usually include in here. What I did do again, Justine, is in the bottom of middle of page 9, under Ready BPC.
Keep scrolling.
Yes, sorry, Lucian.
Okay.
Middle of page 9. I tried to keep these reports to 10 pages. I slipped to an 11th this month. I'm sorry. But I put back in there number 2, community reminder. That was the budget and strategic plan presentation that we made to the BPCA board in October. But the presentation and video are linked there. So if anyone wants kind of like a primer on the latest BPCA budget before the meeting on the 16th, just click on that and you can kind of thumb through it just to get a basic understanding. We will be obviously presenting at the 16th as well, talking a little bit about the budget.
That's great.
As well.
Lucian,
but that's linked there too.
That's a link there. Yeah, we should put that into the Community Board 1 newsletter, Lucian, if that's okay. I think you just cut and paste it, right? Just say, is that,
yes.
Yeah.
You can physically click right on the link or just embed the link in however you want to do it.
Yeah,
that's on our website too, but I put the link right there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was it. Not the other stuff is not unimportant, but it is stuff that we know about: community composting, security updates, which Pat ably handled, our board meeting dates, and our NCO contact information.
Go ahead and keep scrolling, Lucian, so people can see it on the screen. But
yeah.
That's perfect. Nick,
and
thank
that
you.
was it. I tried to keep it briefish. Thank you for the time, as always.
You did well. Yeah, I'm not going to fight with you about Tobacco Point because I want to go on to the new business, but I'm making for the record that I want to fight with you, but I'm not going to. It's okay.
We can talk about it, yes, when it makes sense, but it's
no, it's okay.
Deal.
And if you're done, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you, Patrick. And
I am done, barring any questions, but if you guys think of something after the fact, you know where to find me.
Yep, I don't see any hands, so that's cool. I think everybody is waiting with bated breath for the new business.
I am too. I don't even know what this is, Justine. I've never heard of such a thing at the BPC committee.
The BPC committee new business. Lucian, would you put up that map?
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Redistricting.
Aha. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to be turning the meeting over to Kathy Gupta because as a person who has thrown my hat in the ring to run for New York State Assembly, I cannot. I think it's a conflict of interest. I don't want to even get on the wrong side of conflict of interest. So I am going to put it and turn the meeting over to Kathy as the co-chair to handle this going forward. But what I'd like to point out here is this is the redistricting maps as proposed changes to the Assembly District. What you see here that's outlined in white is Assembly District 61. We used to be Battery Park City South, and then over into Fidei, Chinatown, Lower East Side, South Street Seaport area, and then going up a little bit to some NYCHA housing up by Grand Street. That all used to be part of Assembly District 65. Battery Park City. I'm just giving, this is information, Pat. This is information that I'm not sure that Kathy knows. This is not anything different. And I'm not having any opinions. I'm giving facts.
Fix the picture because all I see is New Jersey.
Okay, yeah. So Lucian, do it so it's bigger and you can yeah. So right, and what before the change, Battery Park City North was part of Deborah Glick's district, which was Assembly District 66, and part of Tribeca, all fine. This is the new map that has been changed up. It has put all of Battery Park City into together, so we're contiguous, as well as going over to the World Trade Center site, and then a little bit of Lower Manhattan. It is a new district that's been carved out called District 61. And Lucian, if you scroll down, you will see that that encompasses Governor's Island.
I think if you
can make it
zoom out.
smaller. So you can make it so Lucian, if you're looking at it, you can make it so it fits.
Right, zoom out. Right.
And it goes all the way into the northern part of Staten Island. That's all community board, Assembly District 61. The current assembly member there is Charles Fall, and I will now turn the meeting over to Kathy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Justine. So what we wanted to do tonight is basically gather input. How do you feel about this? What should we be doing about it? And finally, if we can't do anything about it, how do we mitigate it? And just going to ask you to be a little bit patient with me. It's the first time I'm really looking for raised hands for comment. But let's start with the members of the actual committee and move on from there.
So folks, if you will raise your hand, I that much I can do and tell you whose hands raised. Now I don't see anybody. I see Marianne Braverman's hand is raised. I see Jeff Galloway, so let's do Jeff Galloway first. I believe, but I'm not sure. Barbara Island texted me to say that I can losing my mind, but let's go with Jeff and I'll tell you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have any suggestions on what to do about it, but I think it is manifestly absurd to have an assembly district shaped this way. Our assembly person, the New York State Assembly, is the legislative body in the state that's meant to be most closely tied to the people that it represents. There are many more assembly people than there are state senators, and the districts are, as a result, generally speaking, well, they're definitely smaller on a population-wide than the state senate districts, and so the whole point of the assembly is to be tied most closely to the people that the legislature represents compared to other legislative bodies. And as a result, you typically have communities kind of defined as, with commonalities of interest. And for, years and years and years, as long as I've lived in this area, which is a long time, we've been tied with our neighbors in Manhattan, and we share a bunch of interests, whether it's mass transit or resiliency or affordable housing or whatever, that are kind of specific to the part of Manhattan that we live in. We will now be approximately 20 to 25% of the population of a district, where 75 to 80% of the population is in Staten Island. I'm sure there are fine people over there that have presumably their own interests to make sure that they're represented in the state legislature. But in terms of population density, resiliency, public transportation, affordable housing, whatever, our interests are quite different. And so I don't envy the person who has to represent both. I looked up his current district office. It's over there by the Bayonne Bridge, which is a pretty good hike from Battery Park City as opposed to our current assembly person's district office, which is a walk from us on Fulton Street. So there are all sorts of practical problems. I haven't heard any articulated reason that the district was remapped, and I can't think of any. So I think it's a bad idea. I don't necessarily have any suggestions on how to deal with it, but I think it's a bad idea.
Thank you. I suspect you are not alone.
I can tell you Robin is next with her hand raised, and then Bob Steck, and then Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, Robin.
I agree with everything that Jeff said. I don't know how much more I can add, except to say that Battery Park City and the financial district are intimately tied to the rest of Lower Manhattan. It's ironic to me that the oldest part of New York City in Manhattan would be shipped over to Staten Island. But I think that, as Jeff highlighted, the resiliency projects, we in Battery Park City are very closely aligned with the neighborhoods to our north, Tribeca, the village with which we share many, many amenities, and our kids' sports teams, our schools, elementary, middle, and high school. We are both neighborhoods that rely heavily on mass transit, which is managed by two state agencies, the MTA and the Port Authority. That is not the way people travel in Staten Island, and our needs as two communities link much more closely with those of Tribeca and the Lower East Side, and the Village, which are mass transit focused. Also, the distance between Lower Manhattan, Battery Park City, and Staten Island is quite large, and there's no easy way to get there. So to be represented by somebody who's so distant geographically and whose focus is on a very, very different community with very different needs than ours seems really unbelievable to me. And I cannot think of a good reason either. There's no good policy reason why we should be joined to them. I don't know what sort of political calculus was involved in doing this, but, and I'm not sure what we can do because this was just released yesterday. I don't know how long the Assembly has been working on it, and they're looking for a quick vote from what we hear. So anything we can do to try to convey to the people that are going to be voting that this does not make sense for us. So that's it. Thank you.
Next was it Bob Schnick?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, so I have penciled out a few notes on this that I think this is a really serious problem, and I really hope that we can gather together the entire community and all of the really interested parties, right down to the youngest kids here, who really have lost something in this redistricting that we've just experienced. In the 30 years I've lived in Battery Park City, I never experienced or expected a voting rights problem in this community. Not yet now our community has become orphaned. It is unbelievable that Battery Park City, Tribeca, and Battery Park City, Tribeca, and Fidei communities could be paired by democratic gerrymandering with northern Staten Island to render our slowly gathering CB1 community into rubble and stifling our voices. It is absurd to be separated by an externally imposed divorce, meaning the east and west sides of CB1. This also cedes Liberty and Governors Island to co-jurisdiction with Staten Island and demands our personal attentions to an unknown Staten Island area. But who in government listens to anyone who respects customary rules and offers opponents all the time they need? Next, the BPC leasehold. The Battery Park City leasehold has been a fatal encumbrance to resident owners and renters for many years. Now we are facing a crescendo of threatening financial and community changes based on our original 1969 covenant, which has created a de facto gated community and cleansing financial arrangements that guarantee long-term gentrification and staying power for only the upper class in our neighborhood. WTC 5, 100% affordability. We need to meet the crying downtown need for housing affordability and to forever establish a realistic form of remaining lifetime respect for professional and civilian survivors of the World Trade Center tragedy by permanently building 100% affordable housing at World Trade Center 5 as a united community. Downtown tax strike. If we want to invoke governmental action, we need all of us to act as our own Minutemen. We need to follow Thoreau, Gandhi, and Luther King into civil disobedience. We need to be heard and served by the government, which is we ourselves, the people and our representatives together. We need to package these issues into a unified demand, challenging and reversing the redistricting of the downtown community, supporting owner and renter interests on the leasehold issue, and meeting the fundamental demand for 100% affordability at World Trade Center 5. We need to organize a massive tax strike on the basis of these issues and well before the primary election, so our new and aspiring governor hears us and actually learns that we, the people, are here to be heard. That's my comment. Hope it makes sense.
Thank you, Bob.
Sarah, isn't it?
Sarah's next. Cassell.
At this point, I have nothing new to add. Thank you for everybody for their comments. The gerrymandering is pathetic and insensible. And I agree with everything that has been said before. All right, good night.
Sarah, Eric Flores, and I'm sorry to the attendees. We're going to the
Board members.
Yeah.
Do we know the reason behind this? Why was this done?
None
Well-
has been articulated.
No. Okay, you guys need to answer. I can't speak.
I don't think that we've been offered any explanation of why this particular division should take place, why these two communities that have long been part of Assembly District 65 should be excised and moved to Staten Island. It would be interesting to hear the explanation, though I'm not sure whatever explanation there might be would be sensible.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody. I would just like to know the reason. That'd be something we should find out why we're now added with the northern part of Staten Island.
Well, I mean, there's a bit of history here that I guess maybe some of us assumed everybody already knew. But you know, New York instituted this year for the first time, maybe first time ever, a supposed bipartisan redistricting commission structure that was made up of equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats. They were unable to come up with an agreed map, and about a month ago, they issued two maps, proposed maps for all the redistricting, Assembly, State Senate, Congress. And for the Assembly, both maps, both the Republican and the Democrat proposed maps, basically preserved our district the same that it is today in Manhattan. Essentially the same that it is today. Because the Republicans and the Democrats on the supposed bipartisan commission could not agree on a single set of maps, the way the legislation worked in New York, it then kicked it over to the state legislature that was free to do whatever they wanted to do. And they formed a committee that was run by only the Democrats since they were in charge. And they formed a committee that labored on a new set of maps for all three, Congress, State Senate, and Assembly. They worked in secret until yesterday on the Assembly and State Senate maps when they released them yesterday, as far as I know, without explanation. And that's where we are. One can speculate all over the place as to why they did what they did to us. I mean, it obviously, there's no obvious rationality to it. Neither the Republicans nor the Democrats in the bipartisan commission charged with doing the redistricting thought this was a good idea, but somehow in the infinite wisdom of our state legislature, they did think it was a good idea, or at least the committee. I should add that my wife this morning called both the office of Yulene New and Brian Kavanaugh to register dismay, and I think maybe anybody who is concerned should do the same thing, because they're the ones who currently represent us who will be voting on this plan perhaps as early as Friday. And it's completely up to the state legislature to do this. So we can rant and rave at whoever else, but it's our state legislature, and I think it would be a shame for those who currently represent us to vote in favor of such a redistricting of this assembly district. That's just my own personal view.
Thank you.
Jeff, I have a question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer. Maybe Matt does. Does the legislature vote as a whole on both the Assembly and Senate districts, or does the Assembly vote on the Assembly districts and the Senate vote on the Senate districts?
I don't know for sure, but my understanding is that there has been legislation introduced in both the Assembly and the Senate, and it's three separate pieces of legislation, one for the congressional districts, one for the Senate districts, and one for the Assembly districts. And I believe it needs to be voted on by both houses of the legislature and presumably signed by the governor.
Okay, thank you. Makes sense.
And thank you for the history, Jeff. It certainly wasn't known to me, and I really appreciate the background. I think moving on, Marianne, we're up to you now.
And before Marianne gets muted, Barbara Ireland, then Greg Shinlin, who cannot raise his hand, but he's been texting. He just did. Good, perfect. Thank you.
So this is Marianne, and I fully agree with everything I've heard. It seems very ridiculous to connect our part of Lower Manhattan with Staten Island. We just do not have common interests and needs. Maybe the Staten Island Ferry will serve as an office for our new representative if they don't change it, but I hope we can do it. And maybe we need to get on the ferry with signs and microphones and make some noise there, because it's very ridiculous. I thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. I like the ferry idea, actually. Barbara Ireland is next, I believe.
I thank you. So I believe that there was a forum somewhere on around November 10th. I wish I would have attended. And the importance of this is that this is a 10-year, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be, we're going to live with this for the next 10 years. So I'm going to defer to Greg, but we need, again, our voices to be heard and our voices to be heard quickly, whether it's phone calls, letters, emails, or a petition. And we need to stand ready to craft the message and get it out, sounds like tomorrow. I'll defer to Greg.
Greg, your turn.
What? Okay.
Lucian, you have to unmute Greg.
Yep, I sent the request.
I hope everybody can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay. I really just want to echo what everybody else said, because there's no logic anybody can breathe into this except for that of politics. And I'm not sure what the political calculations were, but it does not feel good to us, because they certainly did not weigh in our favor. If there's things that we can do to stop this before it becomes official and our reality for the next decade, that would be the right thing to do. And I'm happy to put in my time and my effort in any way that might make that happen. And that's all. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Lucian, have you heard anything about what is in the purview of the community board to do, including writing a letter? If I don't know that we could pass a resolution.
I think Tammy is going to. There's no time to pass a resolution, but Tammy is going to. I think it's considering putting together a letter. I think we're all kind of a little shocked by the severity of this, and just trying to get more clarity about what to do. But I think we have to just direct something to the Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hasty, and make our displeasure known.
Okay.
You know, I mentioned that my wife called Yulee News office. Half of Battery Park City is represented by Deborah Glick, so her office should be called as well.
And we also should call Hasty's office as well. You know, we're all his constituent, and so everyone has the right to call the Speaker's office, and ultimately, he could change this.
He could. That's right.
Lucian, is there a way that you could provide the appropriate contact information for Hasty's office and, I don't know, circulate it?
Yeah, I'll do just a quick Google search and see what I can pull back for you.
Okay. I didn't know if you had something in the office. So that would be great. Thank you.
Have I missed anyone?
Kathy, could I chime back in?
Bob? Sure.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say that I've been on the community board for a fair amount of time now, and I've noticed is how often the fruits of victory have kind of either have evaded falling into our hands. I've noticed that whenever we try to get things done as a community, nothing happens. It doesn't matter if we're trying to save money or if we're trying to save the world, nothing happens. And so I think it's really important as a community to actually put our heels in on this and get somebody's attention, because I own a property here and I'm facing very, very perilous charges coming up in the future. I really did something stupid in signing up to be here in the first place, but now I'm committed, and that has to be stopped. World Trade 5 obviously should really recognize in the long term the costs incurred by the survivors here and the professional responders. It's only obvious that World Trade Center 5 is like that. And it's also obvious that that redistricting that got set up that tears apart a part of the community I really love, namely Community Board 1, rips it in half, rips the orderly relationships we have with government apart, and gives us nothing except concedes Governor's Island away from us, Liberty Island away from us, and makes me responsible for an area, makes our leaders responsible for areas that are discontiguous and even hostile to each other, maybe. So it isn't right that we're doing this. And is there anyone that actually takes the proposal that we try to do something bigger than send a little letter that typically gets ignored, or to do at least, if not a tax revolt, at least something that actually gets someone's real attention, rather than is something they can so easily ignore, like all of our resolutions over the years. Thank you.
I would just like to add one thing to that. If the governor is going to be asked to sign the redistricting, it might be worth trying to reach out to her office too. And
Robin, do you agree that the three issues are related, or do you think that they're all separate and we should do them one at a time and leave them separate?
I'm sorry. I think at the end of the day, I think, my opinion, I don't know how others feel, there's one issue.
Does anyone have a sense of how Charles Fall feels about this? I mean, I would think it would be pretty challenging to represent two such radically different segments of your district.
I don't know. I don't know of anyone who has reached out to his office and whether he was aware of this or not before it occurred. But I agree with you. It seems quite a challenge to represent two radically different districts.
Maybe he doesn't want us. Go back another way.
His work hands raised in the attendee part.
Okay, I can't, hold on.
Let me tell you who they are. Sorry.
Yeah, I just Dead is next, and then Barbara Ireland's hand is back up.
And I think Greg's is also, but I don't know.
If you've already had a chance to speak and you no longer wish to speak, go ahead and take your hand down, and then we'll know who to go to next.
Okay, so Detta.
Hi, yes, this is Detta. I'm a public member. I would assume that Staten Island is equally unhappy or more unhappy. So I just wondered if they have also been notified, and if their counterpart, like whatever community board represents that area, is also going to notify their members and their local community, so that those members also can be calling and emailing their state representatives. So I guess I'm making a suggestion that I don't know if Lucian knows that community board or the head of it, but I just think
I don't, Detta, and
okay.
While I'd love to, I'm actually
Yeah.
on using leave tomorrow and the rest of the week,
Okay.
so I wouldn't be able to do that anyway.
Okay. Okay, I'm just, I guess if anybody out there has any connections and can reach out, because the more voices that are heard by these state officials before they vote, either tomorrow or Friday, the better.
Okay, well, I will be in touch with Tammy tomorrow, but see what the overall strategy will be from the board.
I mean, I would assume even that the new Staten Island borough president is not happy about this, even though that's, so if that person is reached, and then the local community board, I mean, I'm just saying the more voices that reach out to the state lawmakers before they vote in the next day or two is good. So thank you.
Agreed. Barbara Ireland?
Her hand actually went down. We have Greg Shanlin, Michelle Ashkin, and Jay.
Okay. So Greg?
May
Yeah.
need to be unmuted.
I can't directly unmute microphones anymore. I can request that they unmute, but then, Greg, if you don't want to speak, I'm going to take your hand down. If you wish to speak, raise your hand up again. But I tried to unmute you. Michelle Ashkin.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
now we can.
Okay, hi.
Yes.
It's just a quick question. I mean, would it be possible for us to contact the media, like Channel 7 or, you know, um, Channel 1, New York 1? Maybe we should make it really big and public and express our outrage to them. Any thoughts about that?
It's a good idea if someone has connections to those.
Well, even it, I
It
don't
was
have
described in the
connections. I don't have
broadsheet.
I don't have connections, but I'm happy to make phone calls and find out who, I mean, we'd have to do it immediately, and I would need to speak to one of you guys, to make sure I know what I'm talking about, and express the outrage of our community. But I'm happy to do so. I just need to speak intelligently, and so that I can make my voice heard and communicate properly.
There's a good article about it in the broadsheet this morning that explains the situation in some
Kind of
detail.
summarizes everything.
Okay. Okay, I didn't read it.
Um,
Does anybody know anybody in the media?
I don't, but I would imagine New York 1 at least would,
Mm-hmm.
you
New
know,
York
be
One has been
interested.
doing a lot of coverage on the redistricting, but not from the residents' point of view, more from a explanatory what the new districts look like. I am going to try to reach out to somebody I know at CBS, but I don't really have a New York One contact.
Yeah, most of the press is focused on the congressional redistricting and how it is, likely to reduce the number of Republican and increase the number of Democratic seats in New York. There's been very little mention other than in the broadsheet, and just some oblique references in other publications of the Assembly redistricting. By the way, our state Senate districts have also been changed pretty significantly, but not necessarily in a negative way. As most of you perhaps know, our current state Senate district includes a portion of Brooklyn Heights and Carroll Gardens, and the redrawn state Senate district eliminates the Brooklyn contingent and expands it a little bit further up the east side. There's all sorts of musical chairs that are going on, and who knows what the motivation for all of that is. As far as I know, I think our assembly district is the only Manhattan assembly district that includes, well, it's certainly the only one that includes Staten Island, but I believe it may be the only one that includes anything outside of Manhattan.
Could I just make a comment that when we had the essential workers controversy, and we had the SAWS PR exercise, the Battery Park City people were able to bring together a very substantial range of television coverage and radio coverage and other print coverage on the SAWS issue. And at that issue, I met with Senator Kavanaugh, and I said, how can, this is an important issue, certainly, but whether or not people can hold on to their homes in the face of the Battery Park City leasehold rules, those are much more serious and have a much more effect on everyone's lives. And Kavanaugh said, well, look at how few people show up for issues like that. They really don't care, even if they lose their homes. But for this, to save a few trees, you have real public action. And so what government listens to is real public action. And unless we do something besides send a letter that no one ever reads and try to influence people with whom we have very slight relationships, not much is going to happen. But this is very, very important, this redistricting. Even to make a statement on doing something as absurd as that is important. Just to stop government from doing things that are just flat out wrong is important. So, I mean, at least for me, I might be more passionate about this kind of thing than most, but they have stepped over a line, no pun intended, here. And it's wrong what they're doing with all of these issues. If we let the World Trade Center 5 situation ride, then the powers that be will build what in heaven's name they always wanted. And they'll do it as expensively as they've done everything else. And so all of these things are places where we just let the voters run through and we really don't put up a defense. And unless we really band together somehow so that people really say, well, those people care as much about their community and about how governance works as they do about a couple of trees in Rockefeller Park, that's important. And so that's where the inspiration for any statement that I would make comes from. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
You have Jay in the attendee list.
Yeah, okay. Jay? Hello?
Hello.
Jay, yes, hi, you're next.
Hi. I just wonder, is it possible to let all the building manager know about this and ask them to let everyone in Battery Park City know about this? And also give them the names they should call or email, like what we did with the trees over the summer. I mean, now we just have like 30 something people on this call. Probably majority of the residents in Battery Park City, they have no idea about it. So I'm just thinking, what's the best way to make it known to everybody and have them all mobilized? I guess first we need to let them know, and second is give them the right number and right person to reach out to.
I think you're correct, but some leadership has to emerge to take that on, and I don't know. Is anyone aside from Michelle offering to call the press? Is there anyone else?
Well, sorry, Jay.
Hello?
I thought you were done. I tried to unmute you again. I'm sorry. So for the buildings, is it someone from BPCA or someone from this community can reach out to the building managers? Now we can take care of the river house. Now that building we can cover. But what about other buildings?
I'm
I'm just gonna go ahead and
sorry,
jump in so Nick doesn't have to. I don't think the authority as a government entity is really permitted to take part in organizing people to comment on this particular jurisdictional change. So.
The other thing is, I'm not sure what you think the building managers would do. They don't necessarily have a direct stake in any of this. This is really going to affect the residents of both the financial district and North and South Battery Park City.
Right.
And I think that we really need to get, however we can do it, to get to the power brokers in Albany. Our current assembly member has decided not to run for assembly again. And I'm not sure that she has that much, political capital at this point in the assembly. But I think going to Hasty is a smart move. I don't know if Brian Kavanaugh could be helpful in steering us in a direction. And I do think that we should consider in whatever outreach we do to include the governor, who's not as familiar with downtown as she is with upstate, but she's spending a lot of time in the city. So sadly, the timing is really working against us, but we need, whatever we're going to do, we need to mobilize very, very quickly.
To answer your question about what the manager of the building can do is, he can at least send out a courtesy email broadcast to every resident in the building to let them know this is going to happen. And if they have a voice they want to raise, this is the person they should email, call, whatever they should do. And we can definitely send an email or ask the resident manager in River House to do that. And we can reach out to our board of the building to let them know about that and see if they would, do something about it too. So if the residents in Battery Park City, they don't know about this, I mean, there's nothing that we can do. We only 30 people sitting here talking. We can reach out to all the politicians as we want to. That's only 30 phone calls. That's all I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just say again that the people that organized the Pause the Saw
Please.
effort really have some PR skills and are in the neighborhood.
Sure. It looks like Betty was next.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry, I
thank you.
didn't
I'd
see your
hope you
hand up.
kind of stick to people with hands up versus people just chiming in. And I wanted to comment in response to Jay's, maybe, because I noticed Pat Smith isn't still on, but going to somebody through the Homeowners Coalition would be a way of contacting some of the buildings or a number of the buildings, which would get to the management to mobilize more residents that way. So that was an answer to Jay. My concern, because I was looking at best case, worst case scenario if this should happen. And the best case scenario would really be the Battery Park City, who is dealing with ground rents and what's going to happen, and that's all state level because we're a state entity, would have potentially in our district 3 different assembly people. The bad part would be that all the Battery Park City, the people who care the most, would be with as a minority voice with a Staten Island representative who probably doesn't really give a damn because he can win the election without any of our votes. And that would be our main representative at the state level for us as a state entity fighting for ground rent control. And that's worst case scenario. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands up. Am I missing someone?
Barbara Ireland's hand is up again.
I'm sorry, Ireland. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I'm back. So I was involved with Pause the Sauce. It's a grassroots group. We are holding a town hall on Sunday. Granted, it's too late for this particular cause, but we do need to bring everyone together on Sunday for these critical issues: ground rent, affordability, resilience, green space, and many other topics. I've
No,
brought
I'm on the
around.
phone. Give me a moment.
I've
Give me a
brought
moment,
around.
please. I'm sorry.
Greg?
They're muted now, Barbara. Keep going.
Okay, I've gone around the neighborhood and given flyers to each one of the doormen to put around their to put out in the mailroom or on the front desk. I've been putting out messages in other mechanisms like next door. And I'd like all the buildings to put it onto their building links. That's the only grassroots method we have right now to get the message out. This particular program that we have right now with this redistricting is again affecting us for 10 years, and we've got to get on our feet on the ground quickly in order to get this message out. And I can help, but I don't have the methodology, the words to put into a call to action and a button to push in order to get the message to our government officials. We can create a petition, and I have volunteers that will do that. But again, I need some volunteers from this group to lend some expertise. All we have right now is a kind of a guideline is Matt's article in the broadsheet, which I appreciate. Greg might have something else to share from Battery Park City Neighborhood Association. He actually might be with his children. So thank you for your time.
Kathy, you're muted.
How did that happen? I said, thank you. And I think what was so effective about Pause the Saws was that combination of grassroots community action and, you know, the community board stepping in where they appropriately could and everybody working together. I think what strikes me as particularly outrageous here is that, you know, we have about 48 hours notice to say or do anything about something that's going to impact our community for 10 years. And that is also an issue, I think, for me. I think we happen to be the committee that's meeting tonight. I don't know how broadly on the board this is being discussed. I promise I will give Tammy a call the first thing tomorrow and see how this is going and what the best direction is we can take. I know that as far as press goes, the board has to speak through its chair, not individual initiatives, but there's no reason why private citizens can't make calls and do so very effectively. And definitely getting the word out as much as possible is key. Anyone else? Can we wrap it up there?
I would just urge again that everybody contact the office of Brian Kavanaugh, Deborah Glick, Eileen New. You can Google them if you don't have their information directly, but they are supposed to take comments and concerns of their constituents, and all three of them will be called on to vote on this plan probably as early as Friday, and we should make clear that we will not be pleased if they vote in favor of it.
A good ending, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. I think I can come back and take over now. Are we done, Kathy, or no?
I don't see any other hands up or comments.
I'm seeing new hands. I mean, I see Barbara's still raised and Greg and Michelle Ashkin, but I think that they're old hands, unless they're not.
Back up is a new hand.
Okay, Bob, you get 2 minutes. Not
I
even.
only need a few seconds. I wanted to point out that this redistricting, for years, the Chinese communities have been trying to build a political voice, and this redistricting drives them all in half so that those voices are stifled just like ours, which was a single community and now is divided in half. And I wanted to say that.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
I think we're good, and I think it's okay to close this meeting out, right?
Okay.
I see no other hands. Thank you all, and thank you all for expressing your ideas and your opinions. Kathy, yes, let's follow up with Tammy tomorrow. She's well aware of what's going on. And maybe a letter, maybe she's written a letter already to send out. I don't know. That I don't know, but we can follow up with her. And
from these other suggestions, what the board may be able to
yeah, I
appropriately
can't
pick.
get involved in the conversation in this capacity on this call, but I can do stuff in another with a different hat. So thank you all, and have a lovely evening. Lucian, I think we're done.
Okay.
Right. Stopping the recording, everyone.